Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, good morning. My name is Viktor Olerskiy. I'm Vice Minister of Transport. First of all, in my responsibility, maritime matters and in some way Arctic matters as well. My presentation, just some technical issues, it should work. My presentation dedicated of development prospect of North Sea route, as we call it, NSR. Activity in the Arctic is one of the most discussable topics worldwide, in Russia in particular. Considerable part of that activity is Arctic shipping. For Russia, Arctic shipping means shipping in an area called Northern Sea route, historically appeared as a national Northern Sea trade line. My presentation is focused on the particular of the North Sea route, here and after mentioned as NSR. Main points of my presentation. In my presentation, I'm gonna speak about the following. First, shipping, its structure, volume of transportation in the NSR area, legislative regulating of navigation in the NSR area, third, administration of NSR, fourth, code for shipping operating in the polar waters, so-called polar code, and rules of the navigation in the waters of NSR. And fifth, safety of navigation and marine environment protection in the NSR area. Cargo transportation in the NSR. The main types of the cargo and passenger transportation in the North Sea route are as follows. First, transport from crude hydrocarbons extraction spots located on the Arctic coast and continental shelf of the Russian Federation. Second, it's equipment and store supplies for the oil and gas production projects. Russian domestic transportation under so-called northern supply related to the everyday life support for the Russian Arctic region. And fourth, it's transit cargo traffic from Europe to Asia, Pacific region, and vice versa. This is the 2013 to 2015 statistic. As you can see, in 2013, transit cargo flow in the NSR was 1.3 million tons, and 2.8 million tons of various cargoes were carried to and from seaports located within the NSR area. Later on, in 2014, transit cargo flow in NSR fallen down to 0.3 million tons. The remaining types of transportation in the NSR added up to 3.7 million tons. And finally, as of 1st of October 2015, transit cargo flow in the NSR for this year is less than 1,000 tons. Meanwhile, 4.5 million tons of various cargo have been carried to and from the seaports in this NSR. It's related to the development of oil and gas fields, as you can guess probably. Its general cargo, petroleum products, gas, and oil concentrate, coal are mostly carried. We can clearly see the downturn stagnation trend in transit transportation in the NSR caused, first of all, by considerable reduction of oil and bunker fuel prices, respectively. And therefore, it offsets the distance advantage in comparison with the so-called southern route. But there is also strong increase in cargo transportation to and from seaports within the NSR area. I would like to add to the above that in the period of between 2013 and 2015, transit voyages were made by ships from 17 foreign states flying the flags of Antigua and Bermuda, the Bahamas, China, Curacao, Cyprus, Finland, Greece, Hong Kong, Liberia, Malta, and Marshall Islands, the New Zealand, Norway, Panama, St. Kitts and Nevis, and finally Sweden. Focus for cargo flows in the NSR. The transport strategy of Russian Federation provides for the development of the NSR, first of all for the purposes of commercial shipping within the relevant infrastructure being developed in the Arctic Basin, with the understanding that the volume of cargo transportation in the NSR might reach 83 million tons by 2030. It is obvious that certain activities need to be carried out in view of the planned transportation growth in the NSR to ensure safe and reliable shipping. And I am going to dwell on them later on. What is this NSR area? NSR covers the water area adjacent to northern coast of the Russian Federation and encompasses the internal sea waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, and exclusive economic zone of the Russian Federation. From the east, it's limited by maritime demarcation line with the United States and the parallel of Cape Dezhnev in the Bering Strait. From the west, it's limited by Cape Jelania meridian to the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, the eastern coastline of the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, and western borders of the Matishkin Strait, the Kara Strait, and Yugorsky Strait. What is the international regulation of shipping in the NSR area? First, the shipping in the NSR water area is internationally regulated by a number of international conventions, so-called UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, MARPOL, and finally, International Convention for the Safety of the Line at Sea, SOLAS. There is also intergovernmental regional regulating of shipping in the NSR. On the interstate level, the shipping in the NSR waters area is regulated under the documents adopted by countries of the Arctic Council. There is Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russian Federation, Sweden, and the United States. As of now, the documents include agreement on cooperation of aeronautical and maritime search and rescue in the Arctic, agreement on cooperation on marine oil pollution, preparedness and response in the Arctic, making it necessary for the states to cooperate and interact in their response to oil spills in the Arctic. In the April 2050, if you remember, in Iqaluit, Canada, the Arctic Council adopted the framework plan of cooperation in preventing the oil pollution of Arctic sea areas as a result of oil and gas activity and shipping. And finally, national regulation of shipping in the NSR area. On the national level, the NSR shipping regulated in the Russian Federation is completely in the line with UNCLOS Article 234. The federal law on the NSR was adopted and entered into force. The administration of the NSR was established, and the rules of navigation in the waters of the NSR were approved. The charge was identified for icebreaker escort of the ships. The above regulating allowed to set up a system of permission to be granted for the ships to navigate in the NSA based on compliance with the requirements on maritime safety, including those established in the instrument of the International Maritime Organization, as well as the requirements for insurance and other financial provision of civil liability for the damage caused by pollution or other damage caused by the ship. Further, to the international obligation of the Russian Federation on providing ships with information on the navigation and hydrometeorological condition, everyday monitoring of the ship position is performed. Ships are provided with the necessary data on ice condition. Administration of the NSA. Shipping in the NSA water area is supported by administration of NSA. Since 2013, it has been possible to send an electronic request and have the relevant permission for the ship's navigation, placed on the official website. You can watch it, a website of the administration of the NSA, which has greatly facilitated the permitting procedure for Russian ship owners and those from other countries. A clear and user-friendly system was set up for the ship owners aimed at regulating the shipping in the NSA water area. Its efficiency was proved on the basis of the law enforcement practice. To obtain permission, all you need to do is find the website on the administration of the NSA, though any online search engine, and you have to print nsra.ru, visit the website in both Russian and English language version, fill in a permission request from form and send it electronically to administration of the NSA. In the relevant section of website, you may track your request, and within 10 working days, before it was 4 months, big difference, 10 working days, the permission will be either issued or rejected. In the later case, with due explanation of the reason for such rejection that are also published on that website. In 2013, the administration of the NSA issued 635 permissions for ships to navigate in the NSA. There were 82 rejections for various reasons. In 2014, 631 permissions were issued and only 30 requests rejected. In this year, by 1st of October, 659 permissions were issued and only 12 requested being rejected. Polar Code. The Polar Code and rules of navigation in the water of the NSA. The International Code for ships operating in the polar waters, Polar Code, will enter in force in 2017, and its requirement will also cover ships navigating in the NSA water area. While the Polar Code requirements mostly addressed the requirement for the ships, the rules of navigation in the water of the NSA, along with the requirements for the ship, that are virtually similar to those in the Polar Code, also address the aspect of navigation, icebreaker escort, and ice pilotage, navigational, hydrographic, hydrometeorological service, and radio communication in the NSA water area. When used together, the above documents will ensure an enhanced safety of navigation and pollution protection of the marine environment in the NSA water area. Ships flying the state flag of the Russian Federation in the polar seas by 2070 will have surveyed for compliance with the Polar Code, and ships flying other flag will be inspected by Port State Control for carriage of the relevant documents. Rescue and emergency response in the NSA area. Search and rescue activities, as well as a condition of search and rescue operation within the search and rescue areas in the NSA area are provided by the Dixon Maritime Rescue Coordination Center. It's very middle of North Route. And Maritime Rescue Coordination sub-centers in Tiksi and Pevek. Rescue and emergency response in the NSA water area is directly provided by State Rescue Service as a subsidiary of Ministry's Transport. It carries out search and rescue activities using its own resources and nuclear icebreakers from Atom Float. Atom Float is a federal state unitary enterprise. Emergency and rescue equipment backup is available, allowing to conduct large-scale search and rescue and emergency response operation. Resources and means are accumulated to response in case of potential spills of oil and petroleum products. 4 centers of forward deployment are set up and operation in the port of Dixon, Tiksi, Pevek, and Providence, fitted with essential equipment for immediate response in case of spills of oil and petroleum products, including oil spill booms, oil skimmers, floating tanks, sorbent, and diving equipment with decompression chamber. Navigation support for vessel, 9 minutes. Yes. Navigation, hydrographic, and hydrometeorological information in the NSA water area is transmitted to ships within the Global Maritime Distress and Safety System, NAVARIA, areas 20 and 21. Present-day ships have internet access through satellite communication system. This information is also provided on website of the NSA administration. Under the contact section of the website, contact details, telephone number, and email can be found of a person who should be contacted for the relevant navigation and hydrometeorological information. Sounding in the NSA, nautical charts. Navigation and hydrographic assistance in the NSA water is being continuously improved. During the period from 2010 to nowadays, sounding works were done over the total of 181,000 reference kilometers. Reference kilometers is a sea area 2 kilometers wide and 1 kilometer long. Based on the above sounding in the period from 2010 till 2014, 1,032 various cartographic works were issued, including 38 new nautical charts and 37 electronic navigational charts of the river areas with marine navigation. The published charts and manuals contain all the required information for the safe voyage planning in the NSA area, including the so-called high-latitude routes. Icebreakers in the NSA. 8 liner icebreakers operated in the NSA area, including 4 nuclear icebreakers and 4 diesel-electric ones. Transit voyages are mostly done by nuclear icebreakers. 4 more diesel-electric icebreakers are under construction. Multifunction icebreakers Murmansk were launched in the late March this year, and it can be navigated in the ice up to 1.5 meters thickness, has an unlimited area for navigation, and can navigate in Arctic Sea during the spring-summer navigation. 2 other icebreakers of the series are planned to be put into operation this and the following years. 25 megawatts diesel-electric icebreakers Viktor Chernomyrdin is planned to be constructed and to be delivered by end of 2017. And while we preparing this speech, we got information for that contract being signed for 2 more diesel electric icebreaker, 22 megawatt power each. The construction of 3 multi-purpose nuclear double draft icebreaker of 60 megawatts was commenced in 2012. The first ships is expected to be commissioned in 2018. 2 others in 2020 and 2021, respectively. And finally, comprehensive development project of NSR. The development of the NSR is under scrupulous supervision of the government of the Russian Federation. As authorized by President of the Russian Federation, the State Commission on the Development of the Arctic under chairmanship of Vice Prime Minister of Russian Federation was established and commenced its activities this March. Working groups have been established within the State Commission. One of them is focusing on development of transport and the relevant infrastructure, including the further development of the NSR. The Expert Council of the Arctic and Antarctic has been set up under the coordination of Chairperson of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation. The comprehensive development project of the NSR till 2030 has been approved and is underway. It provides for the measures on navigational and hydrographic support, including updating of nautical charts and publication, emergency response and rescue operation, hydrometeorological support for ships operating in the NSR area, construction of new ice-breaking ships, development of seaports, design and construction of marine equipment, communication and navigation system and appliance. It's our opinion that completion of the above activities by 2030 will ensure reliable transit transportation and cargo transportation from hydrocarbons extraction spots located on the Arctic coast and continental shelf of the Russian Federation, as well as a high level of the Arctic marine environment protection. Thank you for your attention.